Welcome to this explainer. Seriously, take just a second and look at the mesmerizing 3D animation of the ocean here. The rhythmic, almost hypnotic pulsing of those translucent bells moving through the deep blue, it's nothing short of breathtaking, right? Today, we are exploring a marine creature that frankly defies all biological logic. I mean, they seem like extraterrestrial beings that just somehow ended up in our oceans, drifting silently with the currents, and harboring secrets that are fundamentally rewriting what we know about life, death, and survival.
Okay, let's dive into this. How exactly does a creature with no brain and no heart manage to outlive us all? It is the ultimate biological cold open. Just think about it. In human biology, the brain and the heart are the absolute centers of our existence. Without them, we're nothing. Yet here we have an organism that entirely skips these vital organs, relying instead on a radically different set of evolutionary tools. Today, we're going to solve the mystery of how they survive, how they hunt, and how some of them have literally achieved gerontological reversal.
Section 1. The bizarre anatomy of jellyfish. To really understand their survival, we first have to look at the microbiology of these almost extraterrestrial beings. Let's peel back the layers to see what actually makes them tick, without a heart to do the ticking.
Now here is the absolute paradox of the jellyfish. Their hydrostatic skeleton is composed of over 95% water. Think about that for a second. You are essentially looking at living, highly organized seawater. They have managed to conquer literally every single ocean on the planet without possessing true bones, a central brain, or a cardiovascular system. Their very existence kind of challenges our basic assumptions about what complex animal life actually requires to thrive.
So what holds this watery structure together? Well, the secret is something called the mesoglia. It's this transparent, jelly-like substance forming the structural mass of their translucent bells, and it's sandwiched right between their outer layer, the epidermis, and their inner layer, the gastrodermis. But here's the cool part. It's not just empty jelly. The mesoglia contains collagen and specialized cells called amoebocytes. These act almost like microscopic security guards, engulfing and destroying bacteria. It's a built-in defense mechanism that keeps the jellyfish healthy in a sea full of microbes.
And this brilliantly illustrates how such a brilliantly simple anatomy functions as a complete, highly effective system. Hanging right beneath the bell is the menubrium. It's a stalk-like structure that actually serves as both their mouth and their anus, which, is an incredibly efficient, if slightly unappetizing, bit of plumbing. This opens directly into the gastrovascular cavity for digestion and nutrient absorption. But how do they navigate without a brain, right? Well, they rely on structures called rhopalia. These are basic sensory organs positioned around the bell that detect light and smell. Combined with lappets, those flexible little lobes on the edge of the bell, they can slowly and purposefully pulse through the water, reacting to their environment with striking efficiency.
Section 2. Harpoons of the deep. Let's shift gears a bit. We're going to see how these seemingly fragile floating blobs become actual apex predators of the microworld, with a predatory defense mechanism that is literally lightning fast.
Get ready, because this is the incredibly rapid-firing sequence of their hunting mechanism. They utilize these specialized cells called cnidocytes, which contain explosive little organelles known as nematocysts. The exact moment a tentacle makes physical contact with prey, or even just detects specific chemical signals, boom, a microscopic, multi-headed poisonous arrow is fired. The nematocyst tubule uncoils instantly, penetrates the target, and rapidly injects venom. This whole process happens in absolute fractions of a second, paralyzing the prey or defending the jellyfish from immediate threats. It is an absolute evolutionary masterpiece of weaponized biology.
If you've ever had the misfortune of being stung at the beach, you know the immediate pain, the swelling, and that intense redness known scientifically as erythema. But depending on the species or jellyfish and the individual's own sensitivity, this venom can trigger much more severe systemic reactions. We're talking escalating to delayed allergic responses, acute respiratory distress, angioedema, and in extreme cases, full-blown anaphylactic shock. It's a seriously potent biochemical cocktail that absolutely demands respect.
Section 3. The immortal jellyfish secret. Okay, we are now transitioning into what is arguably the most mind-bending aspect of their entire biology, biological immortality. Specifically, we're focusing on a tiny, 4.5-millimeter creature known as Turritopsis dohrnii.
To truly understand why Turritopsis dohrnii is so incredibly special, we need a really quick baseline of standard marine biology. Typically, a jellyfish life cycle is linear.
It starts as a planula, which is a tiny free-swimming larva. That larva settles onto the ocean floor and becomes a polyp, a stationary colony. Finally, those polyps bud off into the medusa stage. That's the adult, free-swimming jellyfish we all immediately recognize, where it reproduces and eventually dies.
But Turritopsis dohrnii completely breaks all the rules. When it's faced with environmental stress, physical injury, or honestly just old age, it doesn't die. Instead of following that normal linear aging process leading to death, this incredible immortal jellyfish essentially loops backward. It takes its adult medusa form and reverts entirely back into the stationary polyp stage, restarting its entire life cycle all over again. No way, right?
Now, what's really interesting about this is the actual mechanics of how it happens. The exact process is called transdifferentiation. This is a biological phenomenon where one fully mature somatic cell actually transforms into an entirely different mature somatic cell type. The jellyfish alters the very state of its cells to rejuvenate itself. It's exactly like a butterfly deciding to turn back into a caterpillar just because it got a little too cold outside. It's a literal cellular reset button.
And while Turritopsis dohrnii utilizes transdifferentiation supported by high telomerase activity, which is what slows down that cellular aging, it's actually not entirely alone in the club of biological immortality. Out in nature, hydras achieve a similar endless youth through continuously regenerating stem cells that just constantly replace their tissues. Meanwhile, planarians possess the staggering ability to regenerate full body parts from almost nothing. These cellular plasticities prove that, at least in some corners of biology, aging is definitely not an absolute certainty. Section 4. Swarms, Oceans, and Ecosystems. So the crucial point is, let's zoom out for a second from this microscopic biology. Because when you have creatures this resilient, equipped with venomous harpoons, and largely unbothered by typical aging constraints, well, you get massive ecological shifts. The cascading effects of massive jellyfish swarms on human ecosystems are becoming increasingly pronounced. We have actually seen incidents where massive swarms have completely wiped out Atlantic salmon farms in the west of Ireland. That directly impacts the global food supply chain that eventually reaches your dinner plate. Beyond that, they cause severe disruptions to seaside tourism and can even physically clog coastal infrastructure. Aided by maritime transport and absolutely thriving in warming ocean temperatures, jellyfish are aggressively expanding their territories worldwide. A really prime example of this is the invasive Rhopolima pneumatica. Driven by changing climates, this specific species has migrated heavily into the Mediterranean and Turkish seas. Once they arrive, their massive numbers begin fundamentally altering local marine ecosystems, competing for resources and presenting completely new hazards. We're seeing real-world consequences where a highly adaptable biology meets a rapidly changing global climate. Section 5. Jellyfish in modern science. But look, to view jellyfish solely as an ecological threat would be missing half the picture. The very same biology that makes them so incredibly resilient in the wild makes them absolutely invaluable in the laboratory.
Case in point, check out this incredible piece of scientific history. Back in the 1960s, a Japanese biochemist named Osamu Shimomura discovered green fluorescent protein, or GFP, in the jellyfish species Equioria victoria. Since the 1990s, this glowing protein has revolutionized molecular and cellular biology. It allows scientists to literally illuminate and track cellular processes in real time. Jellyfish have already fundamentally transformed modern science as we know it.
And the medical potential for the future is even more astounding. By studying the transdifferentiation and genetic repair mechanisms of our immortal friend, Turritopsis dohrnii, scientists are unlocking entirely new doors. Just imagine the possibilities if we can learn to safely activate telomerase enzymes in human cells to slow aging, or if we can harness that cellular plasticity to radically improve human tissue repair. These completely brainless creatures might quite literally hold the blueprints for anti-aging therapies and major stem cell breakthroughs for all of humanity.
Which leaves us with this final, profound question to think about. What other secrets are these brainless, immortal creatures hiding in the dark depths of the ocean? It is the ultimate irony, really, that an organism lacking a central nervous system could be the exact key to understanding complex longevity. As we continue to explore our oceans, one thing is absolutely certain. The jellyfish isn't just a fascinating survivor of the deep, it might just be the map to our very own biological future. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep your curiosity diving deep.